Welcome to the Motormouth YouTube channel. I'm Zach.
I'm Andrea.
And we do full-length car reviews each and every week, and halfway through we stop for a segment called Questions, Coffee, and Cars, and we've spun it off. We're up to 89.
89.
How do you get a question in?
Follow along on Instagram at Motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday morning I put a post out. It's only up for a short time. Zach and I are holding coffees, and once we gather our questions, the post is deleted.
And we start the show.
Time now for Questions, Coffee, and Cars.
Well, it's raining in Vancouver. Does it rain in Vancouver?
You're going to hear it on the roof.
Yeah.
Your questions from Instagram.
Do you think it's worth spending the extra money for the Golf R instead of the GTI? Never had it, but all-wheel drive might be nice. I live in Ottawa.
Well, I really think it depends whether it's your primary, secondary, tertiary, or what would be fourth and fifth. I don't know. But for us, it's like our fifth car. So it's not necessary that we have all-wheel drive and the extra power. It's just a great, fun car to drive. If it was my primary car, I would spring for the Golf R, got the all-wheel drive. I don't know if you know this, the rest of the world, but Ottawa, she gets cold and she gets snowy.
I would do the same. I would spring for the Golf R if I lived in Ottawa. But in Vancouver, most of the time we don't get a lot of snow. It doesn't typically stick around when we do.
So we go like this, get lost, snow.
Yeah, we really do. So if we put a good set of winter tires on our vehicle, a front-wheel drive vehicle, I think we would be just fine in Vancouver. But I think all-wheel drive in snowy conditions gives you a little bit more confidence, especially if you get a lot of snow.
Well, the thing is, if you have the budget to go for the Golf R and it's your main car, buy it, because you won't be disappointed. If you get the GTI and it's your main car and you had the money to buy the Golf R, you'll always be thinking to yourself, geez, I could have used that extra horsepower. I could have used that all-wheel drive. Just get the R. And
I think also where you live, when you go and sell that vehicle, resale value will be better on the Golf R, in my opinion, than it will be on the GTI. I'm looking at the PHEV Tucson or Sportage. Most of its competitors use CVT transmissions, while this one has a dual clutch transmission. Can you comment on the differences and if you like a dual clutch? Internet gives so many mixed messages. I trust your opinion. Actually, the Tucson plug-in hybrid and the Sportage have a 6-speed automatic transmission.
That's a torque converter, regular torque converter.
They don't get the dual clutch. Now, the Santa Fe, for example, the gas model, or the Santa Cruz, that has an 8-speed wet dual clutch transmission, so different for sure. I like a dual clutch transmission, but they're all very different depending on how they're tuned. Like, we were just in the Santa Fe recently, the gas model, and it has, like I said, the wet dual clutch transmission. It's actually quite smooth, but the previous model, Santa Cruz, we haven't reviewed the brand new one. That one was a little bit jerky.
Right, so if you like the Tucson or the Sportage and you like the hybrid, no problem. Go ahead, get it, because it has a regular torque converter, 6-speed automatic, and it's just fine.
Hey guys, love your videos, and I think it's cool when Andrea matches with the car colors. I recently bought a Civic Sport, and for the first time I have auto start stop, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. I recently read an article from a mechanic saying it's the worst thing you can have on a car and not to use it. What's your opinion?
Was that idiot boy? What's his name?
I don't
Scotty
know.
Kilmer.
That's
by the way,
true.
Don't listen to Scotty Kilmer. He talks a lot of nonsense. He has some stuff where he's on point.
Somebody will write about.
Oh, that's fine.
Scotty,
you can write all you want.
Yeah.
You can find all kinds of information on the internet about Scotty putting out nonsense. Anyway, listen, we have not heard really from anybody that the auto start stop has been the cause of problems with engines.
No. And everyone, let's just say depending on the brand, they're all a little bit different. Some are smoother, some are a little bit jerkier. We were just in the BMW X2. We didn't particularly like that start stop. And the problem is that in normal mode, you couldn't shut it off. In sport mode,
it was deactivated.
It was deactivated, but who wants to always drive in sport mode if you're trying to get great fuel economy? Some do a really good job with start-stop.
The only question I have is the Civic defeatable? Like, does it have a switch you can turn it off? From memory, I can't remember.
Me either.
But if it does, then just turn it off.
Typically, you can turn them off.
Yeah, typically you can.
Amazing content from amazing people. Oh, thank you. Do you choose questions at random after collecting them, or is it a first come, first serve? Also, what do you think of the 2017 Highlander, especially if cross-shopping it with the Honda Passport? So
okay, let's do the car first.
You want to do the car first?
Yeah, do the car
okay.
first. Well, the one thing that's big, the difference about the Highlander,
Highlander,
it's available with a hybrid. And
that 2017 hybrid, though.
Yeah.
Remember
yeah,
that?
the 2017. No, you could. That was. I just realized 2017.
I think I could run out. I think I could run faster.
Yeah, it was a V6. So it was a hybrid with a V6. So the fuel efficiency really wasn't there. But you're talking about regular gas. So that's the 3.5 liter V6.
Yeah.
And the Passport, a 3.5 liter V6. The Highlander's maybe a little bit bigger because it has the third row and the Passport doesn't.
Yeah. So I barely remember because it's a 2017 model. But
Andrew's trying to forget it.
But so I went to Consumer Reports because they did do a review on it back in the day. And their complaints were in regards to the Passport. First off, they didn't give it a great reliability score. 41 out of 100 or 44 out of 100. Either way, it's low.
That would have been early days for Passport.
Of course it would have been.
Yeah.
They also found that it had a lackluster drive to it and the suspension was firm. So there you go. The Highlander 2017 model got a great reliability score, over 70 out of 100. And some of the comments that they had was that the interior felt cheap. Obviously, the technology isn't there from what you get today, but it sounds like they prefer the Highlander over the Passport.
Yeah. It was early days for Passport. It might have been the first year. I'm trying to remember what year it came out, but it's always a good idea to go with a car that's been in production a long time. And before we were talking about it was pokey and slow. That was the hybrid. The 3.5 gas is fine. Now on to the questions, Andrea. So you were the selection committee for the questions. So a lot of the questions I would suspect that are repeated all the time. You don't use the same ones over and over.
No. Well, we try and pick newer questions that we haven't answered before. So it's not first come, first serve. It's just kind of the best questions.
This is not a democracy. Andrea chooses. She decides. She's queen bee. She goes through the list and picks the one she likes. So just because you're first doesn't mean you're going to get in. It's not an election.
It's not an election. And really, it's about talking about new things, right, in this, because I think for people who watch it all the time, then they go, oh, well, we've already heard the answer to that.
The problem is it could be, which do you like better, a RAV4 or a CR-V every single week? Now that gets tiring after a while.
Yeah.
So Andrea's chosen these.
I have, and these are all kind of new, aren't they? Love the show, guys. Thank you. Been following Zach for over a decade now, Zach.
Feeling old. You know what? I got quick. I used to work in radio and TV here locally in Vancouver, and people come up to you, like say on the plane, and they go, "Oh, I remember listening to you on Z95," and I go, "Oh man, do I feel old?" That was in the '90s.
And the guy looks like a kid still, doesn't he?
Well, they're probably in their 30s. To us, they look like kids. Anyway, keep going.
Okay, I lost my train of thought here. What would be your choice in the mid-size off-road truck market? Have you tested all the new mid-sizers? I'm leaning towards the Colorado ZR2. Seems to look the best and also have the best value, as you can get a ZR2 for about 60,000 Canadian versus 80,000 for the Ranger Raptor, and the TRD Pro being in the $70,000 range.
Well, we're at a bit of a disadvantage because I reached out to General Motors because the Colorado and the Canyon are not currently in the press fleet, and I really want to drive them because we have done all the other ones. I think if I was shopping and I was buying, I think the GMC or the Chevy would be on my list. I just think they look good, and I like the interiors more, and the Chevrolet comes with a lot of standard stuff.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, first off, I don't really love the pricing of the Tacoma. I mean, who does? This is really getting up there in price. I like Tacoma. I mean, it's always had great resale value. I like the look of it, but I think I'm going to go for a pickup truck that's more affordable. I really like the Ranger.
The Ranger Raptor was a load of fun to drive, but you know what you might want to consider if you don't want to go all the way up to that. You might want to try the Ranger that's going to have the 2.7 liter EcoBoost V6 is available in Ranger, and I think I swear to you, Andrea, I think that what we're already seeing in the first 3, and it's going to be soon reported, 4 months of sales of Tacoma have not been strong.
No, in the U.S.
In the United States, they have not been strong. Do you know what's coming up and almost taking top spot?
What?
It's the Frontier from Nissan.
Oh, I like the Frontier too.
Because the Frontier still has a V6. While that lasts, before maybe emissions regulations make them change out of that. But anyway, that was just done a couple of years ago. We really like that one.
Oh,
but I think this V6 EcoBoost Ranger might be the sweet spot. For me.
Yeah.
But then,
so
back
too.
to my thing, I like the styling of the Chevrolet more.
Hey, I like the base engine in that Ranger, and like Zach said, we had a load of fun with the Raptor. But if I couldn't afford it, I'd be happy with that base engine in the Ranger. But I agree with you. We never got to drive the other one. It was too bad. We would have loved to drive it. But you know what? I have to say, that Frontier, I always forget about it.
Yeah,
it is
really
so good. And one of our viewers, based on our review of the Frontier, bought it and absolutely loves it.
Yeah, it's a 3.8 liter V6, not even a small V6.
No.
So, still to drive. Unfortunately, we can't answer your question that thoroughly because we haven't driven them. But we're waiting to drive the Ranger with the 2.7 Turbo 6.
Yeah.
And the General Motors twins. But once they come into the fleet, we will definitely do videos on them because I want to drive them.
Do the Honda CR-V and Acura RDX have the same engines? One requires premium gas, one does not. Thoughts? Love, love, love your channel. Thank you. Nope, totally different engine. So let's start with the CR-V. It's got a 1.5 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder matched to a CVT. And the RDX is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder with a 10-speed automatic transmission. RDX has more power.
You know, all these people, whenever I say, you know, the RDX is based on the same platform as the CR-V, they go, no, it's built on a totally different platform. And I say, okay, genius. What platform is it?
Yeah.
It's a modified version of that platform. It's basically, they're not redoing a whole new platform. It's the same thing as MDX and Pilot. It's a modified version of that. But yeah,
but they do think it's all new.
Go ahead, think that. But it's a modified. One of the engineers told me from the A-pillar back is heavily modified.
And I also want to say the premium fuel in the RDX is recommended by Acura, but you can use regular fuel. Hello from the Carolinas. Hello. Love that your backgrounds are in journalism. You'll all provide insight and pizzazz like no one else. Oh, how nice.
Bring the pizzazz.
We did. Zach says, you ready to make the magic? Of course. When it comes to production and timeline, what is the process for creating a vehicle from idea to dealer lots? We talked about this the other day, didn't we?
Yeah, so it depends, like if the vehicle is a evolution of what's already in place, right? So if they have, like, for example, a Honda Accord, and they bring out a new Honda Accord, a lot of what's underneath is modified. Same thing again, they modify for the next generation.
Yeah.
And in the case of the Accord, they carry forward engines and all that kind of stuff. If it's a brand new model from the nucleus, so that will take about 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years, brand new.
And then, no, sorry, even a refresh will take about 5 years. And then a brand new model could take as much as 7 years.
7 years. Yeah. I heard 5 from a manufacturer.
But it's a brand new platform up. So you got to develop a new platform, new engine, all that kind of stuff, and then all the other stuff. So anyway, 5 to 7 years. Let's split the difference,
let's say 5 to 7 years. Because I was talking to Subaru about that. Actually, the president, I was sitting right across with him.
And it goes like this. Quick question.
Anyway, he was saying 5 years, but it depends on the vehicle, I suppose.
And the company.
And the company. So here's a good example of that. A lot of you have said, why can't Toyota come with a vehicle, a pickup truck like the Maverick? Well, I believe that something from Toyota is being developed. It's just that nobody knew that the Maverick was going to be such a massive hit and a hybrid. I'm sure Toyota's like, darn it, we could have had that.
Yeah, so the Maverick came out just over 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So now they're 2 years into the development of it. Now, here's the same thing. They already have platforms that they can modify, so they could use, say, a RAV4 platform, or they might use something slightly smaller and modify that and turn it into a pickup truck.
Yeah.
Like what's the one that's before the the Corolla Cross, maybe.
Cross, yeah.
So they could take that and modify it, but it would take a lot of time. Here's the interesting thing. When a new car comes out, we'll pick Frontier. We just talked about Frontier. So when Frontier comes out, the team that developed that is already working on the facelift. So the facelift is usually 4 years out. So they're already working on that, or they might have already finished and finalized that, or they're just going to tweak it. So it's an ongoing process. So when you say, I wish they had this and they wish they had yet, it takes years and billions of dollars
to do this. So that's a really good question. Thanks for asking that.
I'm glad Andrea picked that one. That one was good.
Hello, team. If you were to make a choice for 10 years, what would be your preference for longevity, security, ease of use, and entry between a Civic Touring Hybrid or a CR-V Touring Hybrid? Paid in full upon buying for both. Your advice. We are a couple with different height and one with back problems. Happy retirees, avid skiers. Thanks for great entertaining show. Yours is the best. Thank you.
Well, I think it's easy. If you've got back problems, the Civic sits low. We have a Civic, and you're sitting, your bum's on the ground.
Yeah.
And then you want the all-wheel drive for going skiing. You just answered your own question.
Yeah, definitely the CR-V. First off, when I read about back problems, I was like, ooh, Civic. I like the Civic. Civic is great, but this new model is better than the model that we have. We have a 2017. Getting in and out of our model, it sits very low. The newer model, slightly better, but I would go CR-V as well. What are the options for a luxury mid-size SUV hybrid? This would be my next car for 12 to 15 years. Wow.
Well, the good thing is that they are cars that are going to last the long run, like you're talking about. So we'll say mid-size would be the Lexus RX.
Yeah.
And Lincoln
Nautilus
has just come out, and we haven't driven it yet. We're still waiting for it to be shipped on a train here to the West Coast. But I would say, yeah, get a Lexus RX, easily go the distance.
There aren't a lot of hybrids in the luxury category. Most are plug-in hybrids. So if you're willing to do a plug-in hybrid, you've got the X3, you've got some from Volvo. Does Mercedes? Oh, Mercedes is coming out with the GLC plug-in hybrid. But hybrid, really only those two.
And Jeep, you can get the Grand Cherokee.
Jeep plug-in hybrid.
But just go, if you're going to keep it for long term like that, it might be, you know, a bit of a pill to swallow to get it and to pay for the Lexus, but yeah, that's what I would get.
Yeah. Thanks so much for the quality and much needed Canadian perspective on new cars so often we're overlooked. You're welcome. I'm excited for the 2025 Honda Civic Hybrid. The paddle shifters apparently, rather than gears, adjust up to 4 levels of regen braking. Can you explain exactly what that means? Well, regen braking, depending on the vehicle, like you said, I haven't heard a lot about the regen braking on the new hybrid coming and how many levels it has, but I'll take your word for it, that's 4. It's basically mild to aggressive. Aggressive more than likely brings the vehicle to a complete stop.
Well, it's quite interesting because we don't really have all the details yet on the Civic hybrid, and we're waiting still to get a chance to drive it. Most hybrids, not plug-ins or not electric cars, most hybrids do not have adjustable regen braking.
No.
You just drive it and you forget it.
Yeah.
So if they're going to do that with the Honda, that's kind of out of what we usually see. But Andrea is right. When you lift off, so your question is what's happening? When you lift off the throttle, the electric motors then go from producing or using electricity to power the wheels to turning into generators to charge the battery. That's essentially how a hybrid works. But if it's adjustable, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, that'll be really interesting and kind of a nice feature to have. Some vehicles that have regen braking, like plug-in hybrids, some don't come to a complete stop. Some manufacturers actually want you to do it yourself physically, so it just depends on the brand.
Okay, one more. We're getting along here.
That's all we have.
Oh, look at that.
It's perfect. We got through 11 questions. That's a record for us.
Is it?
We didn't babble.
Didn't babble.
Yeah.
All right, so how do you get a question in for the next one?
Follow along on Instagram at motormouth_Andrea. Every Sunday morning, I put a post out, Zach and I holding coffees.
Sorry, that's my cue.
Once we gather our questions, the post is deleted and we start the show.
We'll see you then.
Thanks for watching. If you like what you see, subscribe. We'll see you next time.